Good morning. I'm joined today by St. Louis Mayor Tishaura Jones, and we're here to talk about Reopen STL. Throughout this pandemic, we've seen St. Louis County and St. Louis City hit particularly hard. As a result, we've responded with thoughtful, cautious, and science-based measures to protect the health and safety of everyone. Over the last few months, we've seen the supply of vaccines increase to a level where they are now accessible to everyone. Under the Biden administration, we now have 100 million people fully vaccinated in the U.S., and that's an incredible feat. It's brought hope, relieved anxiety, and allowed us to ease some of our restrictions. Today, we've come together to take the next step in reopening St. Louis City and County. Throughout the pandemic, Governor Parson has left a response to local governments, and in doing so, not all counties and cities responded the same, creating a confusing patchwork of public health protocols. Thousands of people a day toggle between the city and the county to work, attend school, dine out, shop, and worship. While the responses of the city and the county have been similar, they have not always been in sync. We are the heart and the soul of our region. Together, we must address our challenges. Together, we know we can move the needle on many complex issues that we face, including public health. So today, we stand together to announce that the city and the county are making the next steps in unison, aligning our pandemic responses as we move toward a more robust recovery while continuing to make vaccines widely available. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Jones.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today with Dr. Sam Page and all the viewers who have tuned in from throughout the St. Louis region. You may have heard me say these past few months about how St. Louis deserves a more regional approach to our big issues. Well, today, I'm proud to take a big first step with the county executive to introduce new Reopen STL health orders that align the city and the county's COVID-19 responses for the first time. Thank you to St. Louis City Health Director Dr. Eccles and St. Louis County Health Director Dr. Kahn for their collaborative efforts. It's very important to remember that even under this new health order, we are still requiring anyone who enters a business or establishment to stay masked to mitigate the spread of COVID as we continue to encourage vaccinations. However, if you are fully vaccinated or outdoors with those who are fully vaccinated, masks are not required. Under this new health order, all venue capacity restrictions have been lifted, though face coverings are still required and a minimum of 6 feet for social distancing must be maintained inside. This order also lifts the midnight closing requirements for bars and restaurants, which have been permitted for 3 a.m. I'm sure many of you are excited about that last part. As always, we encourage those who have not been vaccinated to do so as soon as possible. Everyone is welcome to visit FEMA's Community Vaccination Center at the Dome downtown to get their first or second Pfizer shot 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And parking is free at 6th and Cole Streets. And if you take public transportation, you can request a free pass to come back and get your second dose. This is open to everyone, not just City of St. Louis residents. And we welcome those who want to get their second shot without having to drive for hours to another county just to get vaccinated. The St. Louis City Fire Department is also administering vaccines to homebound residents who are unable to travel to the Dome without assistance. If you need this help, please call the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging at 314-612-5918. For more information on the city's health order or the vaccination event at the Dome, call the health department at 314-612-5100 or visit stlouis-mo.gov and click COVID-19 information on the homepage. I look forward to continuing to work with County Executive Page as we fight to get our region and to the other side of this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Removing the capacity restrictions is a responsible and deliberative step forward. As Mayor Jones said, we strongly encourage you to get vaccinated. Anyone 16 or older is eligible. In St. Louis County, you can find a list of vaccination sites at stlcorona.com. That's where you can also find the county's Reopen STL public health order. We also come here today to thank all of our residents and businesses. It's your overwhelming compliance to public health protocols and the wide access to vaccine that has us ready to take these next steps, the important steps that we're going to take together. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Dr. Page and Mayor Jones, we have several questions today. The number one question is why now? Based on CDC guidelines, based on our positivity rate, why did we decide 100% capacity was the appropriate announcement to make today?
So the question that we have is why are we making this announcement today? And as we've mentioned before, earlier in our remarks, the vaccine is now widely available. We have vaccine locations throughout the city and the county. The case counts have stabilized over the past couple of weeks. But most importantly, this is a guidance that we're getting from our public health experts and our departments of public health in the city and in the county. And it's that advice that has guided us throughout this pandemic.
And as a follow-up to that, the Pandemic Task Force warned last week that hospital admissions had plateaued, and that along with concerns about variants of the virus, it was too soon to return to normal. Is that a concern that this relaxing of the health orders today comes too soon?
So the question about relaxing health orders is are we making this step too soon based on guidance from the Pandemic Task Force? And the Pandemic Task Force last week did say that it was too soon to return to normal. And today we're not returning to normal. We still have face mask requirements, social distancing requirements, but what we're doing is expanding capacity restrictions in our businesses and relaxing mask mandates outdoors consistent with the CDC guidance and essentially consistent with the recommendations of the Pandemic Task Force. So we're not back to normal. We're on the pathway back to normal, and we're making this step forward today because of the decisions that our community has made because of our compliance with previous health orders and wide vaccine availability in our community.
We also have a couple of related questions about businesses such as restaurants going back to 100% capacity and allowing for adequate social distancing. How will social distancing be checked and enforced inside the businesses in the city and the county?
So the question is about social distancing requirements in restaurants, what it means to be back to capacity that is not based on percentage but is based on social distancing. We recognize that social distancing 6 feet apart indoors in small groups is not necessarily 100% in many venues. And we understand that. We've worked closely with our restaurant advisory group to get to a place that is safe for patrons and safe for customers. Following the CDC guidance, following recommendations from our health experts and our Pandemic Task Force, we believe that that next step is social distancing within restaurants, not based on capacity, but based on 6 feet apart. So in some restaurants and some businesses that may be 75 or 80%, we're not looking at a percentage, we're looking at compliance with our guidelines. And we expect this to continue as it always has since the beginning, that the vast majority of our restaurants, of our businesses, of our institutions just want to know what's safe so they can be safe, so they can follow this guidance to protect their employees and their patrons. For those rare instances where there isn't compliance with our public health orders, I'm sure that we will hear about it and will respond appropriately. In the past, whenever we've responded with reminders and education, the vast majority of businesses have fallen quickly in line because in the end, they just want to keep people safe.
The public health orders say that events over 500 need approval from local health departments. What could that mean for things like Cardinals games, 4th of July parades, and parties, and other large-scale events?
This is about games. Would you like to answer?
So currently, our health department has a protocol or forms that need to be completed to make sure that we're following social distancing guidelines. So I would say contact the local health department to make sure that you are following whatever guidelines that the health department has. I know that we have in St. Louis City forms that have to be completed before approving large-scale events. We've been doing this for many months with our Convention and Visitors Commission, and we should see expansion also to our sports facilities.
Next question.
Yeah. St. Clair County announced their mass vaccination site would close at the end of the month. As demand for vaccinations begins to slow, are there plans in St. Louis County and city to close any vaccination sites and get doses out to the community in a different way?
So yes, as we talked about, if you are homebound, you can call the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging to make sure that we can come to you. The site at the Dome is run by FEMA, so we should be hearing from them on when they should be closing, because it won't be open forever. But also, we will continue to do outreach through our health departments, through our houses of faith, through our community health centers to make sure that everyone who wants a vaccine can get one.
The final question, maybe for you, Dr. Page, about change in youth sports. Does this affect the youth sports guidelines?
Question about youth sports. We did adjust our youth sports guidelines in the past. Youth sports, when they come together as an event over 500, then that would go to event planning in our county public health department. If it's an under 500 event, then they would fall under the current guidelines. What we've seen in the past next couple of weeks when school is almost out, we've seen some schools take a position that is a little more strict or a little different than St. Louis County's public health protocols and guidelines, and certainly schools may choose to continue to do that. It really is up to the school's decision. But moving forward, our youth sports guidelines are available at stlcorona.com. If you have questions, you can contact business-covid at stlouisco.com for more specific details.
We don't have any other specific questions. Did you want to add any more remarks? Comments?
Anything else?
Again, I just want to thank Dr. Page and our health directors for working together diligently to make sure that our health orders are in sync. And I want to remind everybody that this is the new normal, not a return to normal. And please stay vigilant, stay masked up, continue to wash your hands, and stay socially distant. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you.